Parents, learners and teachers will have to wait longer to hear when schools will be reopened and how the academic year will be structured to make up for the lost time due to COVID-19. On Sunday, the Department of Basic Education and Higher Education postponed a media briefing which was meant to give an update on the matter. They then again moved it until this morning. We're hoping to get the clarity at 10 o'clock this morning. Teachers' unions are concerned about the provision of water and sanitation facilities, personal protective equipment for staff and the ability of learners to practice physical distancing in crowded classrooms. To discuss this further, we're joined by Basil Manuel, who is the Executive Director of the National Professional Teachers Organisation of South Africa, or NAPTOSA. Basil, thanks for being with us. Welcome.
Pleasure to be with you.
So, I asked this to you off air. No cancellations or delays announced yet. As far as you know as well, we should be still getting that briefing at 10 o'clock this morning from the education departments.
Leanne, what we know is that there is going to be a briefing to the portfolio committee, and hopefully there we will get to know more things. We'll get to know a little more, because ourselves too, we are in the dark. We are not sure what is happening. What we have done is table our concerns, and now, of course, it's in the purview of the minister to come forward and to talk to us further about the reopening of schools, if and when that happens.
And, you know, this is, of course, fueling anxiety amongst parents and learners, and I imagine everybody at this point in time, because of the lack of communication on this curriculum recovery plan. We've seen a whole bunch of leaked documents, which are discussion points. The department saying they're not these, we can't take these seriously. Then there's another one that comes out. I mean, it's very, very confusing right now. How far are the engagements with the educators, and what is the state of actually putting a plan together in place?
Leanne, what I can share is that I would first agree that it's a great pity that we've had all these leaks and documents flying around, and the anxiety of parents and teachers is at an all-time high. However, we've been engaged as part of the union grouping, and we are way down the line with planning. However, when there's a final outcome, it is the Ministry and the Department of Education that must announce that. But we certainly haven't sat back. We've also been checking on whether things are happening in provinces, because, you know, education happens in the provinces and not necessarily at the national level. And our concern lies there, that the provinces mustn't simply be paying lip service to readiness, etc., that it must be real, because there are real concerns and fears because of the unknown. There are so many fears among parents and teachers, as well as, of course, learners on the whole.
In the department's press statement as to why they postponed, they say it was necessitated by the need to align with other interventions that are to be taken by the National Command Council this week. So what did you make of that statement, and what are the other interventions they're talking to?
I would imagine, and this is a guess, that it has to do with what the health department is saying. It has to do with what provinces are doing, and whether provinces have aligned, and whether provinces are ready, and whether those things that unions have put on the table, and they are not just about PPEs that are school specific. There are a whole host of other things, such as the provision of water in schools, the ability to remain clean. What about staffing? What about the over 60s and so on? Whether those things have really been aligned. Do we have a replacement regime that is going to ensure that our cleaning staff is there, that is going to ensure that our teachers who can't be there, who may be ill, have been replaced? So there are many, many things that have to be aligned. It's not an enviable position to be in, but certainly it is one that demands that we have calm heads and that we are doing things calmly. So I want to say I am happy that the minister hasn't rushed into making announcements that have to be withdrawn and dates have to be changed. There's a certain amount of wisdom in being a little more cautious and ensuring that you're not getting everybody hyped up and then changing your mind.
But a measured approach is the best way to deal with this. But from some reports that have been emerging, it seems as if the department and the teachers' unions are not necessarily seeing eye to eye on certain things. Is this the case? How would you go about describing the talks or consultations that have been taking place?
Oh, extremely cordial. We've never had differences, and I think we are sitting on the same side. The minister has certainly never indicated that she doesn't see the concerns in the same light that the unions are seeing it, and neither has the Director General. So it's untrue that we have been at loggerheads. What we have simply just said is that these are the things we would like to see in place. These are what our members would like to see. Many of us have done little surveys of members, and we get countless letters per day. Leanne, I'm averaging about 20 a day now from parents, from teachers, from broader community people, and they're all expressing concerns. Not all the concerns are based in the reality of what science is saying, but they are still nevertheless real, because it doesn't matter what science says. What is in my heart sometimes becomes more important. So no, we haven't been at loggerheads. We've been, it's been our normal cordial relationship, and we are working together. Our teams are with the department's teams, currently working on curriculum issues and things like that.
We also, of course, I spoke at the beginning of the interview about leaked documents that have been circulating on different groups and WhatsApp groups and between parents. And of course, this adds to the public's anxiety. And in some of these documents, it was spoken about that grade 7s and matrics would go back to school as a starting point. Do you know anything about the plan?
Leanne, what I can tell you is that we, as a union, as NAPTOSA, have supported a staggered approach to the return. Insofar as which grades will go back first, that has to be educationally sound. Because I, for example, have also seen those plans, and I don't agree that grade 1s must come back in the middle of June or July. That I believe, as a former head of a primary school, that they need to come back much earlier, because grade 1s, like grade 12s and grade 7s, are extremely important, because we've got to teach our little ones to read and write before we pass them on to grade 2. So yes, we've seen all those plans, but no, they haven't been firmed up, and they're not official. And this is the tragedy about leaked documents, and also the fake news. And my appeal to the broader public is, please wait until you get something official. Even NAPTOSA has been part of the fake news brigade, where people are publishing things in our name. And I've got to constantly say that those things are not real unless they come from the center. And it has become a crisis in South Africa. And unfortunately, it hypes people up really badly.
It does, but another crisis in South Africa is the state of schools and the education system in general. COVID-19 is not bringing about anything new, it's just highlighting the massive faults that already exist within the education sector. And schools, when it comes to being clean, sanitization, some don't even have toilets, some don't have running water. How can they possibly cope with children going back in the midst of COVID-19 that depends on hygiene and cleanliness?
That's exactly the point. We have many problems, and as you say, these are problems that have haunted us for the last eons. But now, of course, it does set us on a trajectory to address those problems, because COVID-19 isn't disappearing with the end of lockdown. And as our scientists tell us, we may have it for the next 2 years. And so we need to see that our systems are improving, the state of our schools are improving, the overcrowding in our schools is being addressed, and of course the sanitation, as you so correctly said. We can't go on as though it's business as usual, because it certainly is not. And with hygiene being such a major priority, we've got to ensure that everything is being done to improve those standards. COVID-19 has highlighted, as you've said, the stark reality of how we live, the differences between communities. And we live it out every day, but now it's right in our faces. And if we don't learn from this, then COVID-19 has not taught us anything.
Just finally, Basil, I know we're running late, but the word from teachers, are they happy to go back? Because we're seeing the numbers growing every single day with regard to coronavirus and the infection rate and the death rate. How do teachers feel? Are they happy to return back to normal as school would go on? Or are they nervous to go back? Do they want to continue?
I think they are more nervous. people with genuine concerns, because it's not only about their own safety. They're thinking about the people back at home, their own children. There are concerns about even the plans that have been put on the table, where we have these different levels. If I go back, who's going to look after my own children at home? And things like that. So there's a lot of nervousness out there. But I think that nervousness can be stilled with coherent plans. And, of course, not a rushed approach. A very calm, measured approach is what we need. And of course, we've got to be able to prove to teachers that in fact we have looked at our own constitution, and what we are doing is in the best interest of our children. And because that is what NAPTOSA wants. That is what NAPTOSA wants to see, that not only our teachers and our frontline workers, our non-teaching staff that are extremely essential to this whole plan, but that our children and our parents have confidence that we are looking after their interests as well.
Right, we'll leave it there, Basil. Basil Manuel, thank you very, very much for talking to us. He's the Executive Director of NAPTOSA. We're also going to continue this conversation with SATU after the news. Kolani Fakude is the Secretariat Officer. We'll be talking to him about teachers and their views and the education system as a whole. All right, it's 8 o'clock.